Hello and welcome back to another episode of the Modern Leader Way podcast with me, your host Emma, and I have got the wonderful Sarah Abel, aka the fairy. What's it? Your funding godmother.
Funding Godmother, not fairy, nearly.
Fairy. I'm fairy godmother.
I nearly got called the fairy godmother. When I put out to my audience, I went, "What do you like, fairy godmother or funding godmother?" And I think because of my age, they obviously for the funding godmother.
Almost got it wrong there, but the funding godmother. So welcome, Sarah. I'm super happy to have you on the show.
Oh, thank you. I'm really honoured to be on here, Emma. I can't wait to chat. We have lots of good chats, don't we?
Oh yeah. It was fab because we first met. We remembered just after COVID, wasn't it?
Yeah,
and that was sort of
in COVID.
Was it in COVID?
Yeah, it was in COVID. I think you were online. I was really struggling with my food stuff, and it was like you popped up in my feed, and it was like, oh, I really like this, and I used to watch you all the time. So it's like, yeah.
And you happen to be local, which
that was really weird, wasn't it? How strange is that? And that's the universe. I know people, not everyone will believe in woo woo. I don't know it's woo woo. I think it's energy. Like I really believe in energy, and I believe that it's like when you go into a room sometimes and you get a vibe, that energy. I can literally read a room from like what people are like, and because I'm in the education business, so I've gone in a lot of rooms where I've walked in and I thought, oh, this room is like, like they think that there's a lot of egos in this room.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of people talking a lot of words that I don't understand. Being honest.
Yeah, and you're not afraid to say you don't understand.
I'm sorry. I love about you. Like, why are you complicating that sentence? Why are you putting all these very complicated words when actually you mean this is? And I actually have said that to people. So what you mean is this, this, and this, and they go, yeah. Well, why didn't you just say that so everyone can understand? What is that about?
Yeah, totally. And that happens a lot in the corporate world as well. So
okay, that's
the world. Yeah, that's the world we come from originally, right? And so we met again a couple of weeks ago and I was honoured to have a little train journey home with you and just pick your brains. And you were like, get me on your podcast. I was like, yeah, totally. Because when I think about the modern leader, and it just is like you are the epitome of like doing things your own way, and we'll see that because we're going to bring in elements of your human design chart, which is fascinating. Yeah, and you haven't heard it before, so this will be first for you, and I encourage the listeners to pick up on things that you hear through Sarah's story, and then like we'll see it translate into your like how you came here to do things and who you are through your human design, which is fascinating. But you are you now have a very successful business, and you've been in business for 25 years or so, and you've just turned 60. And congratulations.
I know, congratulations in this day and age. I'm always at funerals now rather than at weddings.
Yeah. It's the same for me. I was talking about it with my friends. My friend group, they're all in their 50s and early 60s, and we actually had a conversation the other night when we got together about who's going to go first and what we're going to wear to their funeral.
It is so scary, is it? I mean, honestly, this year it's been, I mean, I've always had death in my families, and I've experienced death firsthand, so I know how difficult it is for anyone. I know we're poo-pooing it a little bit, but like for me, it's more that I don't know. I think people tend to sometimes give up at 60, which, for me, I've still got years ahead. Like I was working out. This is how sad I am. I went to my mother-in-law's the other day, and she's 83, 84, and she's quite sprightly still. She has a few more illness, and I thought, actually, why am I worrying? It's like, because when I was 56 and I reached a stage, because I built my business to about, I think it was the turnover then was about 400k, but there was a bit of a wake-up call because I sort of like came out of COVID and thought, and I wasn't very happy. I really wasn't happy in COVID. I think that gave me some time out really to like think, what do I really want? Where do I want to be? And it was a bit of a wake-up call. I lost my friend about, I must be 11, 12 years ago now. She died of a brain tumor. Beautiful lady, really pretty girl, so much fun to be around, and it was very sudden. So basically she literally had some headaches. in August. I can't remember the year of it now. I think it was 2000, and it was 2011. I woke up in the like literally went to bed that night and had a massive stroke, and then for 6 months brain, like had brain injury. And I spent quite a lot of time with her in that 6 months, but she never knew who I was anymore, which was really difficult for me because she'd been such a big part of my life for such a long time. And her family, in fact, her daughter now works for me only one day a week, and she's become a counsellor. So like, she's amazing. I'm just so proud of her, what she's done. But it was a bit that I think I never really processed that death. And I think once we stopped, because we're on this treadmill, aren't we? And I think everything came at once during the COVID time. I really did suffer, and my self-confidence was at its ultimate low. And I actually met a guy who became my business mentor and completely turned my life around in that time. I got into business. I got into for him to be a mentor for me to help me with my business, but he actually was a coach, and he literally completely changed the way I thought. And then I started being me. I was me for the first time, as in all my warts and all. This is who I am. If you like me, if you like me, if you don't like me, bog off. I'm not going to swear. I would normally have said something different there, but I would have, that was a real change for me. But because although I haven't been diagnosed with ADHD, I have been diagnosed. Like, people that diagnose ADHD have said to me, Sarah, you are so ADHD, it's unbelievable. And I think once I had that, it was more of a case of, oh, now I understand why I do those things. That's why I do. And I think I've masked myself for so long to fit in. And I come from the corporate world anyway. So I worked for a cosmetic company, and basically I didn't conform in the end. I was really doing it, like, because I'm really good salesperson, really good business development. Made them a lot of money for a lot of years. Do you know what I mean? Like, literally did really well in corporate. They were like, I think I got to one of the 40th in the country out of, like, I think it was 400 area sales managers, and they wanted to make me regional, and I said no. And as soon as I said no, and the reason I said no is because I didn't want to go away from my children when they were young. The whole persona towards me, that, what's the word, that kicked in, that toxic environment kicked in. And it was then that I made the decision to leave. And on a whim, I literally walked into a nail salon one day, and she said she was selling the business and moving to Spain. I said, oh, I'll buy it off you. I had no hair and beauty experience other than when I was a young girl in a salon. Do you know what I mean? That I'd worked as a Saturday girl.
Oh my God.
But I hadn't got any hair or beauty background at all. Never run a business. When I say I hadn't run a business, that's again a little bit of an untruth, because I'd had lots of side hustles. Do you know what I mean? Like, I'd had like children's clothes parties. I think I'd done silver. When I was younger, I did like all these sort of like quick. But so I had quite a lot of experience as how to fail.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? But I never put I think the difference was, on this occasion I put everything on the line. So it was like, you've got to make this work whether you do or not. And it was a real sort of, I think I did have that skill of emotional intelligence with people. I totally understood where people are coming from. And someone said to me recently, one of your skills is that you have that. But my ADHD does sometimes kick in, and I'm so literal and I say it, and I forget that we're all different, and sometimes you need to give feedback in different ways. So now I've surrounded myself in my business with managers that can do that, and they're much better at it than me. And I said to Julie, that one of the directors yesterday, I went, I don't want to manage anybody. I just want to lead. That's what I want to do, because when I manage, I said, I don't enjoy it. It's not my thing. Do you know what I mean? But what I do know is that to be a really good manager, you need to have really good emotional intelligence. And I think so many people, egos get in the way. Do you know what I mean, of that? So it's probably made me now in the business I have now, working with people to change that,
Mm,
because I think the more that people change the way they think, the better results they get. The business gets better results. They get a bigger pay packet, and I think in corporate, from a bystander now looking in, if they were to put a lot of those skills into the corporate world, the world would be such a better place. Do you know what I
mm,
mean? And I see it all the time. I was talking to one of my friends yesterday, and she's got a really big business. Her business is about 4.5 million turnover. She's gone. I think in total, I think she's got about. I think when we were talking, she employs about 60, 70 people, which,
wow.
in the corporate world is probably a smaller business, but she
Mm,
has actually created a corporate business now. She said,
yeah,
and she hates it. She said, I
right.
absolutely hate it. She said, because it's, I now have this toxic environment that's being created, not because she's like that, because she's so far away, but she's brought in managers that are that way inclined. You know what I mean? So
Yeah. What a shame. And I wonder if, we were to wind back time, what she would do differently. I guess there would be some big lessons in there for her in terms of recruitment and who she's bringing on board to
and we learn,
important.
the thing is, in a business, you learn, you fail, you literally learn, you actually grow from failing. And I think one of the biggest things that I've learned in my business is that your failures are your biggest learns, and the more you fail, A, you become more resilient. B, you learn, as long as you learn from them, don't keep doing the same mistakes over again. And I think what I've noticed in people, when they fail over and over again and they don't learn from it, it's not that they haven't learned, it's more that their ego is in the way. Like, it's like, I cannot fail, because if I'm vulnerable and I'm out there and I admit my mistakes, then I'm making myself very vulnerable to other people that can come in and hurt me. But actually, I've found it works the opposite. You then attract more people that um who become more vulnerable. So
Yeah.
then it mirrors what you say. Like, they feel okay to come and say to you. Like, one of my managers, a few months ago, we were doing a thing about building a team. So we were talking about when a team breaks down, like trust and stuff like that. And she said to me afterwards, she said, I felt as I, because she's a green. I don't know whether you've read the book, Surrounded by Idiots. I literally leave my business around that. Any personality books, I literally, that's why I was grabbing you, said come on, because I thought, oh, I get to get my, I'm going to find out about me again. Okay, yeah, get about me. There's my ego again.
No,
um,
I love it too. I love all of that stuff.
yeah,
Who
I love it.
doesn't?
Yeah, it's so interesting. And she said to me, I just felt as if I wasn't being heard. And
Mm,
that really hit me. I thought, oh my God, because I'm a real red
right.
person. So I'm quite direct. And I think the ADHD doesn't help, because I'm very literal. So, like, everything I do, in fact, I use ChatGPT before I respond to messages now, because I go, can you put this in a supportive, nice way? Right. Yeah. Love ChatGPT, by the way. It's
Your best
revolutionary.
friend.
It's like, please put this in a way that I don't sound like an arsehole. Because I know that I'm going to have to, because it's not, like, even my texts, my husband's the same, like we have okay texts. Do you know what I mean? Like, okay. And then I get from my kids, have I upset you? Oh, no,
Oh,
no, I'm just in the middle of a meeting and I've looked at your thing, like, okay. But it's not because I'm not, but that's what I mean. I think this
yeah.
is what I'm
Okay.
saying. That's where I think in life at the moment, we are in a very difficult way of life, because our young people are not learning those type of communications and how you respond to people, which is so sad. Because I don't think all people, because I've got some really great young people that work for me, but yeah, it's a bit of a iffy one at the moment, isn't it?
Interesting times ahead, hey, in terms of like the future generations and what they're going to bring. And in some ways, I'm pretty sure they are going to, contribute to shifting the shape of the world as we see it, as we know it. And in other ways, I think like we've already done so much to shift things out of a recognizable kind of way anyway, haven't we? Like
Oh,
what we're seeing today.
yeah. I
Like
mean,
scary, some of it.
really scary. I mean, I'm in two minds about this, because I was talking to my one of my girls the other day. Oh, it's actually my daughter-in-law, and I was just sort of saying to her, "Listen," I went, "I'm just going to turn this off. Sorry, now." Because I know we're going to get a phone call in a minute from somebody, so I'm just going to turn it off so they can't ring me. Sorry. Right in the middle of your podcast. Not very professional, but anyway, it's done now. And she said, she turned around to me and she said, I was saying, look, with AI and the way things are going, your kids are going to need to learn and be skilled. They need to be skilled in whatever they do, because a lot of the jobs that are what I call unskilled will be replaced, and they are. You've only got to go walk into Tesco's or to work into Lidl's or any of those stores now, and you've got a self-service machine. Like me and my husband went to Thailand the other last year, and we were like being served by robot waitresses. Do you know what I mean? It's like, oh my God, this is so weird. You know what I mean? But that's what I'm trying to say. It is very much like you need to and the people that actually work on their emotional intelligence are going to go up the chain quicker, because they'll be able to get people to do things they normally wouldn't do. In a nice way, and then and what they'll do is they'll retain those people. And I think in business, that's one of the things, is I call it retaining your, I mean, you're always going to get your soldiers, and there's going to be people that come and go, because especially nowadays, because people don't stay in jobs for a long time. But if you find your core people within your business, and you look after those people, and you train them and you develop them to be the best they can be, your business will thrive. And it's a complete proof in my business when I look at the leaders that I've got around me, or like the managers I've got around me now. Like, I'm very open with them. Like, I will go in and say, look, okay, this person's not doing this and this, what are we going to do about it? And they go, well, actually, Sarah, if we go in and tell them what you want to say to them, you'll just do you know what I mean? So tell me what I need. Well, I don't need to say anything. How are you going to say it and make it work? And 9 times out of 10, they come up with those answers. Do you know what I mean? Or they will, and I love that. It's the fact that I haven't got to be there and like firefight anymore is like amazing. And that's what I was talking to my friend the other day, and she said, I just have to go and firefight the big things. And I've got another person in my business who, she bought a percentage in my business. So I let go, not a massive amount of equity, but enough to keep her with me. Do you know what I mean? To give her some kind of incentive to stay. And my business, when she came in, was turning over £200,000. Now it's doing 1.3 to 1.5. Do you know what I mean? Like, it all depends on the government, by the way, because we get government funding. So depending if they give us the extra 200k, which I'm not 100% sure they're going to now, it's going into defence. Do you know what I mean? But what I'm trying to say, that's a massive jump.
Yeah.
And we don't employ loads of people. We employ about 20 people, and some of those are part-time. So the profitability of that business, and what the actual, what can I say, the quality of life is, and isn't that why we're here? It's not so much like, people don't get me wrong, I'm a yacht. I would love to go on the yacht, and I have had the opportunity to do that every now and again. Do you know what I mean? But I haven't got 250k to spend on a yacht. Do you know? When I say a yacht, a week on a yacht, like I've seen a lot of really good influencers that are able to do that, or even buy a yacht. I haven't got that spare money in my bank account currently at the moment. But what's the point if you've got no friends? Like I think relationships are the be all and the end all of life. And I think if you've got really good network of people around you, that makes all the difference. And an example of that, so I can give you, I went to London to a business meeting. It was a networking meeting I think it was last week or the week before, I can't remember now, it's gone so quickly. And I had my bag stolen, and there was only 6. They were all 7-figure businesses, and there was only one person I knew out of them. She'd invited me, and these people, I've never met them in my life at all. They were amazing. They just like stepped up when my bag got stolen. The lady in the restaurant, she sat with me for an hour going through all the tech things I needed to do, because when you lose your I had my iPad in there, so it was like, right, we need to get you off this, we need to get your Apple thing changed, we need to, well, I can do those things to a degree, but I normally have somebody in the office that sorts it out for me because I'm not taking place. So it was like, and even one of the girls paid for my train ticket because I had no money, because I had to cancel all my cards. I had no cash at all because obviously they'd stolen that. So I literally had to get from Leicester Square to St Pancras. Luckily, my phone was on the table, so I had my train ticket on there. But even those little small things, being
Yeah.
in the central of London, and I know I could have walked. It's not that far to walk, but it's like, when you're not in a really good, if you're in that anxiety sort of like, oh my god, this has happened to me,
Yeah.
you're not in a good frame of mind to have all those people surround me, and then my family phoning me saying, look, no one was hurt, you're absolutely fine. My best friend texted me and said, are you all right? You know, when you just think to yourself, that's what is important in life. Money, don't get me wrong, and I'm a big supporter of money. Do you know what I mean? And I'm a woman that goes after money. So I'm sorry if that upsets people. Guess what? Money is not a bad thing. If we're in America, they're all like behind you. In this country, for some reason, money is like a very bad word.
Still,
But
yeah.
if you have a lot of money, you can do a lot of things to change a lot of things for the good, and
Yeah.
you can also help a lot of people. And I think it's really sad how that seems, some of those things have really changed. Why is it in corporate that we have to be so, I'm not saying in every corporate position, but I can only give you my experience. I remember going into a meeting and viewing what I thought, okay, which they'd asked for. Do you know what I mean? As in, what do you know, what are the problems within the business? And there were problems within the business. There was 12 of us in that meeting, and I remember saying what I thought they were, and I walked out, and this girl said to me, this time next year you won't be there. And she was right.
Wow.
And that's really scary because, I wasn't derogatory, I was just factual. This is
And
this,
honest.
and honest,
Hmm.
as in, the reason that I think you're not getting this amount of sales is because of this and this. And if that was me, and this is the feedback I've not just had from me, this is feedback from the team that I'm part of, this is what they are saying. You wanted me to come and give you that information. I'm one of your top sales reps. Why are you not listening to me? Like, it's like, this is what's happening. They didn't like what I said because obviously it was going to cost them some money for a little while, but it would have made them more money long term. Do you know what I mean? It's such, was it short term thinking rather
Yep.
than long term thinking? So
Yeah.
yeah.
Even you make a good point about money, and like in the corporate world, we're encouraged not to talk about how much we earn. And you
Yeah.
know exactly why that is, because I can't talk to you about the salary that I'm on, because then I can't go and complain that I'm not getting paid as much as you. And it
Totally.
perpetuates this gender pay gap that we've got, right?
Yeah.
It's so
Why
toxic.
needs to be transparent, because I think the more transparent that you are, I mean, we have a really transparent in my business. It's everybody. If you do this, you get this. So, like in our admin team, this is what you can earn, and if you get this, you get this. So that it's all. This is where you can go with
Yeah.
that. I mean, but it isn't always about money. Like I've got. I mean, I would say a lot of my team are paid well. However, they deliver well as well. So, like, you cannot, like, so if we went into a meeting with somebody and they wanted to be at that, you need to do this. So it's very structural of where they can move up within the business. Some people are quite happy with where they're at. They don't want that added responsibility. They don't want that added stress. They see it as such. And it can be stressful when you're running a team because, you're dealing with lots of people's problems, lots of people's challenges, lots of people in that. And sometimes that's difficult. So they should be paid more. If you're going to be managing a team, then you should get more money. And, that's one of the things that I think to myself all the time when I look at the people we've employed, and they've all come from the bottom. They've all worked up. Every time I have employed somebody from the outside who's come from some kind of corporate background, like I have some people from the FE colleges, and they are a nightmare. Like their whole, like, my culture in my business is about, like, we have 4 values, and those values are keeping it real, passion for learning, committed to succeed, and above and beyond as standard. Now, I hear that all the time in corporate world, and I go in there and think, where are these people living these values? Ours are judged on it at every one-to-one, every team meeting we discuss, and it's a really good way to run your business because you can look very, very much. This is our vision. This is what we're trying to actually accomplish.
Yeah.
These are the values we've got. If somebody's not aligned with those values, they get off the bus. That's how I've always looked at it, as in they're not really our person. So why have we got them in the business? Because toxic person in your business is like, and I think that's probably the problem with corporate. They get so big that nobody is able to, I don't know, manage those things unless you have a really good manager. And there is some amazing managers. I've met, a lot of those people have left corporate and become coaches, or they've started their own business themselves because they want to, because they want to make a difference. And I was listening to a lady yesterday, and she was it Tuesday, and she was talking. She does a thing called shadow work, and she'd been a real top, like on the board as such, and it made her ill. Like it was like, how scary is that? That made you poorly, that you were working for the business that you were in. That's not good. Yeah.
No. And I love what you talk about values, because I feel like they're the kind of behavioural measures, aren't they? And
Yeah.
oftentimes what I see, or my experience in the corporate world is, you have these values from the top down, and like they might not meet my personal values, but okay, I can kind of get behind them. But where's the measure? Because your behavioral kind of performance is still based on what you do day to day and how you interact with the team, not necessarily on these values. And I think that is because of that's a symptom of size.
Yeah.
And I think
And I do think, though, when you say about your personal, I do think that has to be part of it. I think if you're working for a business, if your personal values do not align with their business values, then you might as well not be there. Because, and I'll give you an example of that. So Julie and I, when who is the other director in the business, I mean, we're yin and yang. So if you look on Disc, I'm the influencer and the influencer and dominant, and she's at the bottom. It's subconscious, and I can't remember off the top of my head, but green and blue, I think of them in colors because I'm ADHD. But basically we are, and if you look on the chart, I'm there and she's there, so I'm right in the middle and she's right in the middle at the bottom, and we so complement each other. And that came completely by accident. So like literally, she was working for me, and this is what I'm saying about making mistakes in your business. And I had another manager over her at the time. She came to work for me as an assessor teacher. She had worked in corporate. She'd been on a board in London. She left because she had a child, and at that time they didn't have the fast trains going up to London from Folkestone. It was very much like the old on the train for a couple of hours going up. I know, completely awful. And she said, so she left. And what she said to me was, she came to work for me as she had a business, and she came to work for me as a assessor. So we both had salons. And she was the same as me, bookkeeper, bought a salon. Yeah, do you know what I mean? She came to work for me because she realised that although in the hair and beauty industry you can make money, salons it's not an easy thing to do. Do you know what I mean? Like anyone that's got a chain of salons, I look up to you, because you've got a lot of people to manage, you've got a lot of people's personalities, and a lot of people in there are creatives, and because they are so creative, they're very, like they're like me, not me's. So it's like, so for her it was, and she's very much the opposite. She's a blue green, so like through and through blue. Julie is, so like very pragmatic, very much like detailed and stuff like that. And she could not stand the woman that was in my business that was looking out for her, and she was going to leave. And it was only because one of the other girls came to me and said, Sarah, I just thought I'd let you know that you're possibly going to lose Julie. And it was like, oh my God. And I had never looked at her CV at that point. So I read her CV and went, oh my God. And at the time I was looking for an operation, a quality manager. And I thought, you tick all the boxes. So I rang her and went, come round for a coffee. And she came round for coffee, and we ended up, she said no to me about 4 times, and I went, please, like beggy, do you know what I mean? I went, oh, you did 2 days a week, and now she's like, it's full time in my business. She's got a bit of equity in my business as well. She's bought some of it.
Brilliant.
She's my best friend. How weird is that, you know? But when we sat down and wrote our values together, they really aligned. Our personal values aligned, and that said volumes to me. So then we went and took it to the team that we had, and guess what? Majority of those ones aligned. Some, I think, lied. They're no longer here anymore.
Yeah.
You know? And like you just said, it's, I think if you don't align with the company's values, it's very difficult to stick with the company.
Yeah, completely. Oh, and I've got there's so many tangents I could go off, but I feel like we need to sort of wind it back a little bit, and so you can tell us what your business is in terms of like,
Yeah,
so you're the funding godmother.
yeah.
Um, tell us what that means, because you've mentioned you've got your salons and there's the hair and
I
beauty.
basically help businesses to grow using government money.
Yeah.
That's exactly what I do. So, corporates, there's loads, like they have the apprenticeship levy. So we deliver apprenticeships, we deliver adult skills budgets, we have advanced loans. Basically, your taxes that you pay, I get them back to help your businesses grow.
Right.
So, you know, I've helped people get government grants. We've got government grants. I've helped people get government loans. Anything to do with money to scale a business, we can do. It doesn't matter. And what I think the problem is in the education business is that there's too many training providers out there that are not commercially viable, as in they're not commercial. They
Right.
going and if you can use funding in your business to create leaders, to create people that you know, align with who you are as a business and teach them those skills, because I think what very often happens in a lot of businesses, not just corporate, but in a lot of businesses, if somebody's failing over here, they take that person because they want to remove the problem from over there and they put them in a problem over here.
Yeah.
And more often than not, they make them managers.
Oh my
And
God, yeah, I've seen it so many times. Oh,
and it's like, why would you do that? That person's failing over here, and now you're going to take them over there and that's going to be toxic all down here. So, and I don't always necessarily think it's that person's fault. I think the reason that person's like that, they haven't even got the skills or the to be able to change. Do you know what I mean?
yeah.
They don't know how to. So you, as an employer, it's your responsibility to change that, and that's why I love all the funded training, because there's so much money out there, and if you can work with a training provider like me, okay, then you'll know that it's going to be, because all our courses are aligned with that. And
Right.
if they're not, because we're very much because we are governed by the government, so basically like all our money comes from the Education Skills Funding Agency, so we have to jump through the Ofsted stuff, and you know, like people always go Ofsted, oh my god, do you know what? Ofsted were one of the most helpful people for us. We had our Ofsted last year, and I had amazing people that came to us, and they were absolutely brilliant. And the way that they spoke to us, that group of people were like, and we were absolutely terrified because it was our very first Ofsted, because we'd only had a direct contract since 2020. We've always subcontracted. So when you subcontract, your lead provider is the one that they're tested, not you as such. But we'd had experience of Ofsted, so we sort of knew. But we prepared for it. You know, we got somebody in that knows what they're looking for. We made sure we filled those holes to make sure that they weren't there anymore, because they were there. You know, they were. It was, and again, it wasn't a case of that we were rubbish. It was, but we didn't know. You don't know what you don't know, and that's the whole point. And I think if you can get over to people in your teams and your managers and your people like that, you don't know what you don't know. Okay, so if you muck up, and you will do as a manager, you will say the wrong thing, you will do the wrong thing, your team are much more likely to get behind you if you go, listen, Emma, I'm so sorry. The way that I spoke to you earlier on was bang out of order, but I just had a phone call from my daughter to tell me that X amount of things has happened. And you walked in a moment and it wasn't anything to do with you. It was totally to do with me. And I apologize for that. You know, that in itself is like, that's not being vulnerable. That's just being transparent and honest about
Human.
And
Clearly, right?
that's my whole point. Let's just go back to being like human beings that have all our flaws, because every single one of us have, like, I had a conversation with you this morning where I said, I've said something to somebody and it was not true, and it was my ego jumping in, and it was like, oh my God, that ego is back. And I was on the phone to her and said, look, I said this yesterday, and this is the reason I said it, and I feel like a dick, and it's kept me awake all night. And I had a lovely message back from her, like, as in, you are not, I put you on the spot, I totally get it, and you're probably the least amount. But I didn't do it that. I did that because I needed to get it. One of my values is keeping it real, and I really live that value. And every time I've gone against it, and I have, like, I've let somebody in that I know is not going to be the right client for us because of some of the things they say in the sales call. But then I've got to get that extra sale, so it's like, oh, I'll take them in. They
Yeah.
become problems.
Yeah.
And I always regret it. So, like, now I've got to the point, I think, over the years where I go, no, go. I'd rather lose you and lose that money than bring you into my business, because I can replace you with two people that do align with my values, and they'll be a lot better than that.
Yeah, completely. And just going back to the thing you were saying about taking this problem from here and putting them there, what I saw a lot so I was in reinsurance, so it was a very technical environment. We had a lot of actuaries, a lot of underwriters. These people had been 10, 20, 30 years in their role. They were technical experts, right, at what they did.
Oh,
But
yeah.
they would reach a ceiling because they are a senior technical expert. And so the next natural thing to do is put them in a leadership role.
Yeah. And they're not
And
leaders.
they're not leaders. And I
Yeah.
think emotional intelligence is one thing that I am not so sure is easy to train.
No, I think I'm not. I don't know. I don't know. If it's about training. I think it's about reading the right books. It's
Oh, yeah.
about, and I think emotional intelligence comes from awareness, and I think it's
Self-awareness.
becoming aware of who you are as a person, and then once you become really aware of who you are a person, know those triggers and those traits that make you like that, and then work on them. I know there's a lot of, like, when I spoke to that girl on Tuesday, or that lady on Tuesday, she triggered me. There was something that she said to me that triggered me, so I reacted. Do you know
Yeah.
what I mean? So, like, that's absolutely fine, but to be able to come away and reflect on that and go, why did I do that? This is the reason. I obviously still feel threatened by that.
Yeah.
Okay, because that's the only way. The time when you are triggered, it's because you feel threatened by it. It's like
Yeah.
fight or flight. And like, from an impulsive nature that I am, it was like, that's how I went back. Where some people would go back and, like, they wouldn't maybe, like, say anything, but you would see by their face. Do you know what I mean? So, like, I think it's very much like, I think it can be taught. I think
Yeah.
you've got to want to be taught it. And there's a difference. And I think if you are really open to becoming a better, work on yourself. If
Yeah.
you work on yourself and you become a better person, your emotional intelligence will improve,
Yeah.
because ultimately you will understand other people. And it's paid. I mean, an example. I used to have a client that used to come in, and every time she used to come in, she never used to smile. And all the girls in the salon at that time used to say to me, "That woman is so bloody miserable." And I used to think it too. And I used to think, why though? I wonder why she is so miserable. She never smiles. When I talk to her, when I think I've said something funny, she doesn't laugh. Do you know what I mean? Am I
Does
really?
she?
Other people laugh. Why are you
Must
not
be
laughing?
something wrong with her.
Our perspective is, it's something we're doing. It's
Yeah.
something it's about us. But over, like, as I grew that relationship with her, as she came in more often and I got chatting to her, the reason she never smiled was because her gums were receding.
So
And
she's super paranoid about showing her teeth.
absolutely, and hence why she doesn't
Nothing to
smile.
do with you.
And that's what I mean. And that's where I think the ego comes in. Like, people always judge other people on what, my kids, when they went to their proms and stuff like that, they were like, oh, do I look all right, mum? Do I do this and this? And I went, no one's going to be worrying about you. They're going to
They're
be
all
looking
worried
at them.
about themselves. Yeah.
Everyone's thinking about
Yeah.
how, so, like, if you always think of people as being like, no one gives a shit about you, the only thing they worry about is themselves. So, like, if you make those people feel as if they're important, in any, and that's listening to people and actually responding to what they've got to say. You'll build relationships because people are not heard. Like that girl said to me, like my manager said to me, Sarah, I felt not heard. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
If you stop hearing people, then people will turn against you, and not turn against, they won't want to be around you because none of us get heard anymore. That's the
Yep.
problem.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. And I feel like just one eye on time, I want to get into your human design because
Yeah.
this is just going to be like awesome. So let me see if I can share my screen.
Oh,
Like this is, I talk about human design as like the next best thing since MBTI. So if you know the Myers-Briggs
yeah, 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 yeah.
profiling, it's that kind of thing. And why can't I share? Here we go. Let's bring it over here though. Let's bring it here, desktop two. Mm-mm-mm. Now everything's cocked up on my screen, bear with.
Oh, you sound like me.
Hey, it's because I've got two screens. It's not so simple just to share something. Here we are. Right, you tell me if you can see.
Yeah, I can see something. It's a black screen.
I mean,
Oh my god, that looks complicated.
so it
Oh,
looks complicated and don't worry too much about it. So this is what's called your body graph, right? So this is based on birth data, and I've done a whole series on human design in the past with Sue, who you met actually at the Be Your Own event with
yeah,
Jennifer
no,
Randa.
yeah.
She's my
I think we're going to be sharing. We're going to an event, and she's going to be there, so it'll be
Oh
interesting.
yeah.
Yeah,
Yes, that's it. Big
and
festivities.
you're going. And
I'm
you're
going.
going too.
I'll be
The
there.
big festival. We give a shout out for
Oh
my
my
friend
God.
because it's hers, and it's amazing. Anyone that wants to go there, who wants to start a business, it's a fantastic place to go. So
Yeah,
yeah,
I can't wait. It's going
yeah,
to be amazing. Right, so this is your body graph, and
yeah,
so it's like your how to operating manual. When you can like decipher some of this, and you don't have to, because I'm going to tell you a few things that stand out to me.
yeah,
It's kind of like it makes a lot of sense in terms of, you know, what you were saying very early on about it's all about energy. And like
yeah,
when you walk in a room, you can read the energy. Well, this is your energy. This is your energy that walks in the room. But actually, when you're in alignment with how you were sort of born to operate in this world, that's
yeah.
when you can maximize your energy with less effort because it's
Right,
just so natural to you. It's your natural nature, right?
right,
So
yeah,
the first thing we start with is your energy type. So this is you're a pure manifesting generator. So 70% of the population are generator types. And
yeah,
this is where you have, so if you see this pink box here, this is your sacral center. This is
yeah,
your creative center, your life force energy. So you have access to that because it's defined, it's colored in. And this just means you have like energy, you have like life force energy within you to go, go, go and to not stop if you love what you do, right? And
yeah.
that's the key.
That's true. Yeah.
That's the key. So basically, if you love what you do, you generate energy around it.
Okay. Okay.
And by the same token, if you don't love what you do, it's going to degenerate that energy. So you're going to know straight away. And some kind of keywords for a manifesting generator is if you feel frustrated about something,
Yeah.
then it's a big signpost that either you're out of alignment in
Yeah.
approaching something or like the thing is out of alignment for you.
Oh my God, that's so true.
Right. And by like the opposite end of the spectrum is satisfaction. So if you can sit down at the end of the day and feel really satisfied, no matter how busy you were, no matter how much you were juggling, if you feel I had a good
Oh,
day today,
well, yeah, yeah,
then you were totally in alignment. So that's a really good sign. The good thing about them, well, not the good thing because they're all good, kind of energy types, but a manifesting generator, and this is why, you know, the whole ADHD thing I think also makes sense. But from an energy perspective, you have like a faster energy. And so of the 70% of generators, manifesting generators is a subtype, and there's less of you, but you have like this quickening of energy, like this real tendency to want to do things faster.
yeah.
And you get an abundance of ideas.
Oh yeah, that's
And
what
at
I mean.
times you can move way too fast for other people around you.
Oh, and you know what? It's really funny. I was talking to my PA this morning, and she went to me, and she's amazing, by the way. Big shout out for Martina if she's listening to this because she will. She said to me, Sarah. She said, sometimes with some things, everything I don't feel as I have enough time to make it really good. Do you know what I mean? And there was a reason why she had to do that task, but I am aware of that. Do you know what I
Yeah,
mean?
yeah,
Yeah, I get it, Martina, and I
yeah,
know, and and at the end of the day, it's just it's like, oh, we've got to do this, we've got to do this, and that's why I'm a good leader. I'm not a good manager. Do you know what I mean? Like, as in,
mm,
I don't feel that a manager can break all those steps down
yeah,
and then time frame it. Whereas with me, I do find it very difficult. Like if I put an hour in my diary, it's actually an hour and a half. And even at this point in time, it's like I know at 10 o'clock I've got another meeting, and it's like, oh my God, it's like, you know what I mean? It's like,
yeah.
that's what I'm like, yeah.
Yeah,
So
yeah. Okay, so that really does fit. And even when I first met you, I thought, yeah, this made sense. If you weren't a manifesting generator when this popped up, I think I'd done something wrong. And just to make mention, actually, you weren't sure what time you were born. But if I
yeah,
just show you this real quick, it's not, you might not be able to see it because it'll be birth time range, right? So
yeah.
whether you were born at midnight, 3 o'clock in the morning, nine
Yeah,
o'clock in the morning.
yeah.
You can see here a 3-5 pure manifesting generator all the way
Okay.
through
Yeah, yeah,
until 6 o'clock, and then it slightly changes in your profile with the numbers. But I'm not too worried about that. So we're working on this basis quite confidently
yeah,
that that's what you are. So one thing about your energy is you have this big, like manifesting generators, they have this big welcoming enveloping energy. It's like a warm big hug. So you walk into a room and you do have that energy. And that's by contrast to other energy types, right? They won't necessarily have that same big
yeah,
energy. So, and again, but I think you know that about yourself.
yeah,
Um,
definitely.
and and you're here really to respond to life. That's what you're here to do. So you see opportunities and you're responding. And the way you respond, you're like inbuilt like decision making compass, if you like,
Yeah.
is this sacral center. So,
Okay.
so what that means is you are likely to experience, and you can tell me this if this resonates, if you're faced with making decisions day in, day out, right, as a leader, as a business owner, you are likely to sense a clear yes or no that
Yeah,
comes from within, and it almost comes out as a sound.
yeah,
So it's almost like uh-huh or uh-uh. Like
yeah.
your sound will
Absolutely.
really.
Totally. And it's really weird. You said that for a few, like last year, I think it was last year or the year before, my mentor, who I still speak to now, he doesn't coach me anymore, but he went to me, he sent me like a podcast, which was about making decisions quickly. Cause he said, he said, every single time, but because that this is the validation part of me where it comes from a child, it's like, are they right and I'm wrong? But I actually do
Mm.
know.
Yeah,
Not
you do.
I say to my husband all the time, I know this. Why have I done that? I knew right from the beginning that was what I needed to do, and
Yeah.
I didn't. And I think that's where I get my frustration sometimes with myself, is like,
Yes.
why did you not do that in the first place? If you'd done it in the first
Trusting.
place, trust in that. Oh,
Yeah.
thanks for that. I love
Yeah,
this.
no. That's awesome. So that's the sacral. And actually a few of the things you've said. So we've got this beautiful color going down these, the chakras. Are you
Yeah,
familiar with like the
yeah,
chakras? So this is
yeah,
loosely based on that. So what we're seeing with the color is you've got definition there. So you've got consistent access to the energy in that center. For example, your head center is where you receive ideas.
yeah,
Your ajna is where you kind of process them.
yeah,
Then
yeah,
you've got your throat is where you speak them out into existence.
yeah,
You've got your G center, which is like a real sense of self, actually,
yeah,
this self-awareness and a real sense of direction.
yeah. That's
I
funny.
think that's a big thing. And then you've got your sacral center, which we talked about, that life force energy, that decision making center. So that this is like your power, like these are you access this throughout the day naturally. And when other
Yeah,
people are in your energy, if they don't have a defined head, for example, they're likely to borrow your definition. It's really fascinating, just from an energetic perspective. Um, so this is really good because you can receive ideas, you can process them, you can speak them out loud, you can
yeah,
give direction to your team, and then
yeah.
you can make decisions, right?
Yeah.
Really certainly.
Okay, I love it.
It's
It's
great, isn't
so,
it?
this is so me. This is so like the more you talk about it, I think, oh my God.
I know, right? I could go on and on. There's so much in this, but I'm just sort of scratching the surface for you.
We'll talk about this another time because I
Yeah,
really am
definitely.
interested in that. Yeah.
For sure. So here, actually, this is the heart center is also known as the ego center. So you
Yeah.
talked a lot about ego, and yours is white, so it's undefined. And
Yeah.
I think is about 80% of the population have an undefined ego. And it's
Okay.
really fascinating to see people, like I know people, I'm close with people that do have a defined ego center, and they are very sure of themselves. It's kind of
Right.
enviable. So when
Yeah.
we're talking about a lot of the childhood stuff, right, that comes up where that makes us feel like question ourselves, this is because we have an undefined ego center, and this is just where self-worth lives. So when we have it undefined, it's just where conditioning gets in throughout our life, right? So it kind of makes sense. And then you have your emotional center over here. So by contrast, I'm an emotional authority. So I don't get that hit of yes or no. I get emotional waves, but I
Okay.
don't make a decision in the emotional wave. I wait until it's ridden out. So I have to sleep on it for at least one sleep.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
so just to give you a distinction. And then you have this completely open root center and spleen. So spleen is where like fears and instincts and intuition live. And it's not bad that it's open. It just means you have the potential for a lot of conditioning in there, but you also might take on other people's fears and
Yeah.
that kind of thing. So it's just really
I'll give you an example of that.
um,
So when I went to, I spoke at somebody's mastermind the other day, and so I got to spend the whole day there for free, which was lovely, and talking to people. And there was somebody there talking about social media, about getting your like influencing and getting your thing across. And I said, do you know what? Like one of the biggest things I've struggled with social media is I've been told so many different things. And when I went on social media back in 2020, and the only reason I did was to keep in touch with my salons, and it literally grew from 40 to like 700 in like 8 weeks. I was just being myself. And
yeah,
then it sort of like then people started saying, well, if you're selling this, you can't be this, you can't be that. So I took on all that, all their opinions. And like she said to me, Sarah, you need to stop listening to these people because and like what you've just told me earlier on is, I know I don't need to have those, but that
yeah,
speaks why I do.
yes.
Okay.
Yeah, so it's good to know that and to go,
Yeah.
is this fear mine? Is this emotion mine? Because you've got an open
Yeah.
mind emotional center. If it's not, it's okay. Just like leave it over there to them.
Yeah.
Um, and there's, like I said, there's like so much in here with the lines. I think this channel here, this line is where can I get to it quickly? Because I don't confess to know all of this, but is it this one? Uh, You've got the gate, you've got quite a few gates and channels of leadership in there, and
Right.
the
Okay.
alpha.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. Oh
a lot of that energy coming through in your chart, which I'm like, uh-huh, uh-huh. And then
yeah.
here's the kind of thing that sways it is your let me just get rid of it. So your incarnation cross, this is like 70% of your essence. Yours is
Right.
the vessel of love. Like
Oh, I like that.
it just sounds nice. But
Yeah.
here, which I think will make a lot of sense, the energy of your cross is based in love, love of spirit, love of body, love of humanity, and love of the self. You are the embodiment of love, and your love is driven to find self-love.
Right. Yeah.
Cross is looking for a way to express itself as an individual example of love for all to see.
Yeah.
Just feel like it's like a really rounded, beautiful, like you've got this masculine kind of leader, alpha energy, like this ability to communicate really like all these ideas. And actually, if we go back to your chart very quickly, this G center has got a lot of numbers that are highlighted. That's a lot of gifts that you've got in there to pull on. And this is where you give so much direction, that
Okay.
vision, that strategy to your team. And it's just, yeah, it's really lovely to see you've got that real balance. But actually, ultimately, at the end of the day, and I think you said something like, at the end of the day, we're all human, and it's like all just about being ourselves. I think that is the essence of you. It's about
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
that
And
whole together.
and I think it's really weird, isn't it? How like as a child and like because the world does mask that sometimes for you. So like you stop being who you are, and that's where I was in 2020. I stopped being me. I'd got to a point, and that's like you said earlier on about that feeling that this is not right. This is not who I'm meant to be here. And it was really weird. That's when I went back to sort of like I started reading a lot about future self. Where do I want to be? And then I started doing a lot of personal development again on me, which I always did when I was younger, and I'd stopped because it was like, and I think that was just outside influences, things that had happened to me. And it's like, being in business is not always the easiest thing, and you are knocked down over and over again. I mean, like I do believe if you can stay in corporate and make shitloads of money and invest it, you're better off than that. Start your own business. Don't leave and start your own business. It's the hardest thing in the world,
Yeah.
and it really is the hardest thing in the world. But then probably would I be the person I am today if I hadn't? Because it pushed me out of my comfort zones to be, this is amazing. You should do more of this. This is amazing.
Well, we'll chat offline for sure, because there is more. But Sarah, thank you so much. It's been
Oh, I've
absolutely
loved it.
wonderful having you on and chatting.
Thank
And
you.
I'll make sure that links to follow you on Facebook and all the things, website and stuff are included in the show notes. But thank you so much.
You are welcome. Thank you for having me, Emma. I've loved it. Thank you.
And everyone else, thanks for listening and take care. I'll see you next time.